we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion.
Combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado, this is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
We're like, man, let's try this podcast thing, you know?
Yeah.
And we literally started on a cell phone. It sounded like shit. You know, I mean, we're like, what the hell are we doing, right? And so we started to throw some money at it, get the cameras, get the mics, you know, and all of a sudden the traction started coming. People wanted more and more. Weekly of just us drinking beers, goofing off, talking to random people. And it started with just our buddies mostly because nobody wanted to come on and talk to us, you know.
Yeah,
and
no,
I always
it
said, like,
had to start with the circle.
Somewhere around episode 20, I was like, how cool would it be if we got Willie B on the show? You know, and it was like, one day he's coming on the program, and he's here now.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Thanks. It's always an honor to be on, and yeah, appreciate you guys out here digging it, man. It's cool, you guys. What you guys doing? So
yeah, thanks, man.
Got to be part.
Yeah, appreciate what you do too, and yeah, I know we're definitely big race fans. I used to watch you on Two Guys Garage back in high school, automotive class. We'd have you playing up there while we were kind of goofing off, having some fun. So I've been following you a long time, man. So
It's
cool to have
weird,
a beer and
man.
sit
That
down.
show, out of all the shows I've been on, because you know how I got into TV was just kind of a weird sort of story, anyway. But Two Guys was basically just a boss looking out for me. That's all that show. How I got on that show, you know, I'll be the first minute. I'm not the fabricator. Or at the time, I wasn't the fabricator, like, you know all wrench guy. I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. You know, I'd go into a speed shop, and I didn't care how it worked. I just was like, yo, does that make my car go faster? Then give me that shit. Let's get it on the car. Let's go racing.
Yeah.
That was my mentality and how I approached it all. I got on Pink's All Out just on a random whim because they came through Denver, and they have something called a speed. It was like a Dream Mobile, like, you know, theater thing that showed all the, you know, things that Speed had, and it was interactive, like, areas and monitors that you could check out different shows and so forth. But Pink's drew such a big crowd. I just thought it was cool. They put me at Bandimere because I'm friends with the Bandimere family. They put me right beside that Speed, you know, big semi unfolding, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the programmer guy for Speed comes down. He says, "Oh, what the hell is going on? Nobody's at the Speed Mobile Theater. Everybody's at this pit guy beside of it's pit. Who's this guy?" And they said, "He's Willie B. He's this local car racer guy and radio DJ." At the time, Rich, what's his name? The other bald dude, the narcissist on the show.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, Christensen. He had just fired the announcer in Kansas City, and they came to Denver afterwards.
Okay.
So that VP of programming, a guy named Bob, came up to me and said, "You ever thought about doing TV?" And I said, "Bro, you might want to take a good look at me, man. I'm bald. Hell, I probably got a big-ass bell pepper nose. You know, I'm not necessarily cut out for TV." And so, long story short, he said, "I'm going to call you and offer you a position on the show." And at the time, man, let me tell you, Pink's All Out was like my favorite. That was like one of the first ones. And, man, me and my guys, all car guys, would go to Exaloon on Thursday and watch that shit and go, "Oh, this guy's going to clean up and this guy's going to win."
It's fun to get involved like that with
Yeah.
those kind of shows, and your whole crew is like, no, you're wrong. It's this one. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the weirdest thing to be on that show, I thought he was full of shit. He literally called me 2 weeks later and said, "Hey, you start in September, and you know, get ready to rock." And I was just kind of blown away. I literally showed up to my first show, and I said, "What do you want me to do?" He's like, "You're a technical advisor. This is your camera guy. Go do you.
Throw you to the
and
wolves.
we'll see what comes out of it." And that's how I got started on TV.
Okay.
And I've been on there ever since. Well, when the directors knew that Rich was going to destroy, Rich and Speed got into this big fight at the end of it. You know, he's probably wanting more and more, you know, everything. Well, they knew they were going to dissolve the show. And so he calls me, the same guy that hired me, just called me and said, "What do you know about Two Guys Garage?" And I'm like, "The show in the mornings, like, you know, where they wrench and fix shit." And he said, "Yeah." And I'm like, I mean, it's not really my thing per se. You know, I'm not like Kevin, the guy that I do the show with. like he comes across as a smart dude on TV. You can't argue that. In real life, that dude's a maniac smart. He is crazy, car savant smart. He's a head engineer at Ford, and he's really into, it was blocks and heads and so forth, and then he got moved over to electric, and he's just a very intelligent guy, and he makes anybody look stupid beside of him. So that was a big challenge for me at first, because I never really cared about what or how it worked. I just cared if it worked and how I could go a tenth of a second faster, because I was a big racer, or how I could put my car through, some turns a little faster, or things like that. Now, my first couple years on there, it had jumped formats in different places. You could find it. It was GAC, I think, and then it was MAV, I think, for a while. Anyway, we ended up at Motor Trend. Thank God, because since then I've approached all things car related in my life much differently. Now I try to understand why and how things work to help me in the show, and just made me more confident in the show, and just allowed me to be a little bit better. I just turned it a wrench, and figuring things out. So it's been a blessing and a curse.
Sure.
But I've created some really cool things from it. I built my wide body Charger. I just took to SEMA. It had a great response, and people were loving that car. For me, I got to jump in, hands on, hand first. Like, that's how I learned something. I knew how to MIG weld, didn't know how to TIG weld. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna build a wide body car, because that was like what I was obsessed with. And so I was like, okay, what car is really hideous and can use a wide body approach? And I chose a first gen Charger because they were ugly and had a big slope back on it, and it looked like the guy that skipped leg day at the gym every day. So I was like, I'm gonna do it to that. They're called slapper cars. They have real vertical sides. So I did my wide body theory, try to apply the second gen Charger look of that Coke bottle styling to a first gen Charger, and it came out really well. It also taught me to TIG weld, and things like that motivate me and push me to try to be better at whatever my skill or craft will end up being.
Sure. Well, there's always more to learn, right? Like once you start diving into stuff,
man.
And you actually like start uncovering something that you may have a passion for, then you realize that there's all these other steps and pieces of the process, and to understanding that you have to figure out this other thing.
Absolutely.
Especially cars.
Cars are such a, especially now, the integration and networking. I'm an awful computer guy. It's funny, me and my brother I got an identical twin. You want to meet a competitive person, go find an identical twin, right? Because from the moment you come out of the chute, you're always competing for mom's attention or boob or, time in front of whoever's there, or just, that single toy.
So what does he do then? Like, because obviously you're successful, you live a fantastic life. What's your brother get into?
It's the same thing, man. He's super successful and lives a fantastic life too. So the one commonality me and my brother had, very yin yang. So we're called mirrored identical twins. It's like looking in a mirror. I'm right-handed. He's left-handed.
Oh,
we do the same movements, right? We're a mirrored copy of one another, right? So it's the last split of twins, shit like that. And it's really funny. Thank God my mom didn't dress us like rich gay men. She let us develop our own personalities, and in that, my brother was really big into computers, which I had nothing to do with. He was president of the computer club. I was senior class vice president, went on, to be president. It was really funny how our paths took us different ways, but it was always cars that kept us in the middle. So he's a big-time car guy, and as luck would have it, I used to be a better fab guy than him, but now he's just, in recent years, he didn't like a lot of the vaccine mandates for the company he worked for. So he was working he works for a big national, worldwide company. So he's a big part of the United States in this global business plan. And he's big into computers, has been for, decade and a half, 2 decades, however long we've been out of college, a couple decades now. Anyway, he's literally just amazing on computer. So much so that he decided when the vaccine mandates were coming down from his parent company, he didn't know if he wanted to go through that. So he looked at different alternatives, and he started doing tuning on he'd always done some HP tuning that I gave him. And he really started getting in-depth to laptop tuning, and, he got tired of paying somebody else to do it. Sure. So he started going to all these courses and classes, and he's such a really good computer guy. He started integrating people like at Holley and a few of the other manufacturers. He started integrating certain screens and windows for them and how they can overlay charts and a few other things. Next thing you know, they're inviting him up to their facility to show them how to do that.
Nice.
Or buy this, this little click that he can do for them. So he's been real successful the last year in growing, his tuning business. Shout out, I think it's Warlock Tuning or something like that. I'll find out. Shit.
Terrific. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. It's he's been killing it.
That's
So
awesome.
he bought a dyno, put it in the shop behind his house, and he's been doing dyno tuning.
Just tuning it up, huh?
Yeah.
Now,
and
have you guys raced side by side?
Yeah.
You've been down the quarter mile?
Yeah, I fucking murder him.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Who's getting down there the quickest on the past time?
He'll see that and hear that and want to go. But
He's
I've
gonna
always
need a
had a little
redo.
fast. So in high school, he'll tell you a story. I got him in hot rodding racing. So I saved up all my money. Me and my brother, we've always worked really hard. We asked my papa for a lawnmower when we were like 12 because we wanted to go cut grass and make money.
Yeah.
So we had like 5 yards in the neighborhood, making 100, 120 bucks a piece on a week because in Kentucky you're cutting the grass.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a lot of that, and we each had our own money. So I saved up my money and got a 71 Dodge Charger. I really wanted a second gen Charger because I've always just appreciated those cars the most. But I got a third gen, the Richard Petty looking, type thing. So I had that, loved it. And it was much faster than my brother's Monte Carlo was at the time. So he ended up getting a Camaro. No, I think it was a Monte Carlo. He drove by my girl's house. Me and this girl, Christy Gwynn, are sitting on the front porch. And I said, hey, man, I'll give you $100. $100 is hard to come by when you're like 17.
Yes.
I said, I'll give you $100 if you could turn the tires over, if you could spin the tires. And man, he couldn't do it.
Oh no.
And he couldn't even power brake this Monte Carlo we had. Couldn't pull a greasy string off a cat's ass. It was sitting there like, eat. Couldn't get it to smoke. Nothing.
Too much brake, not enough throttle.
Man. And I was like, damn, I was hoping he would come through, and it didn't. That pissed him off. Next thing you know, he's going to buy a Camaro. Put a hopped up 350 in it. We started racing then, and we've been back and forth ever since.
Oh, yeah.
So we always have something really fast. He's no slouch, man. I probably got a faster race car, but he's probably got more cars that are fast.
Okay.
He's got my old Corvette, which was, that car does well over 200 miles an hour. I've been over 200 miles an hour in that car a few times, the Colorado Mile and stuff. So, yeah, he's, as far as who's the fastest now, I'm probably the quickest with my race car.
Quickest
he's
off
probably
the line?
the fastest.
Quickest elapsed time?
Yeah,
across the board?
quickest ET on a quarter mile, but he's probably got the fastest car.
Okay.
Because I don't think much is beating that Corvette I traded him.
What's your best time?
Right now, I've only been low eights, but I got a
Okay.
car I'm about to bring out that should eat the sixes for lunch.
Ooh.
Yeah, it should be around 2,800 horsepower, weighs about 2,600 pounds. It's a 69 Dodge Super B.
Okay.
It is unbelievable, this car.
High
Spent
sixes,
like
huh?
8 years building this car, or
Wow.
having this car built. But it's going to be diabolical. This thing is nasty. The chassis can handle whatever I throw at it, so I'm starting just under 3,000 horsepower.
Wow.
Nothing is going to be fucking wicked.
Putting the ponies down. If you're getting in the high sixes, that's ripping tater chipping.
Yeah, man.
That's going to be badass for sure. And speaking of ripping tater chip, we got the Mile High Nationals this weekend, Willie.
Yeah,
We're going to
man.
be there. We're going to be there.
Yeah,
we're going
in
Saturday.
the house, or on
Oh,
the
cool.
track, I should say.
Yeah,
Nice.
we'll be in the area. I always got to say what's up to Forrest and those guys. I know you got Hagen on the show tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Man, what a badass. And
I love that dude, man.
he's a cool guy. He's
yeah,
built too, like a brick shit house.
Oh, he's a house for sure.
a hell of a racer though, and
He's fantastic.
shout
yeah.
out to Tony Stewart. I'm a big NASCAR guy.
Okay.
And when Tony Stewart moved over to NHRA and started this Tony Stewart Racing project, we all kind of thought, man, is this going to work? And they came out of the gate strong with Leah Pruitt on top fuel, Matt
Hey,
Hagen
man, it
ripping
was
funny
Leah
car.
that brought him over. She
Well-
brought him over to the dark side.
Well, she brought him over,
Of course,
with that
she
marriage.
She would bring anybody over. Who you kidding? Yeah. Leah, I'll follow you. You need some money, honey? I'm your sponsor. Sugar daddy. He's like, all right. But no, they're killing it, man.
Absolutely.
She's had some hurdles this year, but she's getting it dialed in. Matt Hagen's had an insane year.
Ridiculous.
I saw him out at Radford Racing out in Arizona before the season started, and he's like, Willie, we got something this year. And I was like, you think? He's like, just out to test it. They were making test hits out there, and I was out there doing some road course stuff, and he was like, man, we got something. And he was really excited about it. He was super just excited to get the year started. And now as he starts the Western Swing, dude, he's putting the Hertz down on a few times, a few people. He's clicking off rounds, and I expect him to really show up at this event ready, guns drawn, and ready to claim that title, man. It'd be great too for Dodge.
Well, absolutely, yeah, and for Tony Stewart Racing, again, Smoke's had his hands on just about every kind of racing. He's got the SRX series, which I don't know if you follow that. It's like a kind of a spin-off of NASCAR. They do about 7 races a year. He's got Tony Stewart, obviously Stewart Haas Racing and NASCAR, so he's everywhere.
Yeah,
he's got his hands everywhere, and I don't know if Smoke's going to be there this weekend, but it'd be cool to see him up there.
I love the fact, didn't that dude get jacked up doing some like dirt racing or like
Smoke?
Yeah.
He got himself in some trouble.
Keeping his roots in the soil, like that's still cool. I don't care. Mm-hmm. We've all been in cars that cause every car guy trouble. Oh. There's no car guy that's a legit car guy that hasn't got into trouble courtesy of the car.
Yeah, that's a fair statement for sure.
I mean, when you're like tinkering with things and playing around with it, like you almost want to see what the limit is, right?
Absolutely.
Like you got to like kind of test it a little bit, push the envelope.
Oh yeah, I remember the first time I tried to drag race. Young, I had this little old, I think it was a '94 like Ford Escort, and I put this like Walmart exhaust on it. It sounded like a bumblebee in a tin can. I'm like, man, this is super cool. I'm going to show off to my friends.
Everybody knows what the Walmart exhaust is too. They just
it's a reactive.
A cherry bomb with like the flange that you bolt straight onto a header, and that's all the shit you had on there.
Yeah.
Hey, it's 12 inches, officer. Fuck it. It's a muffler.
That's what it is. Under $100,
Yeah.
You're young. You're like, I'm trying to look cool. And I remember trying to, show off for the friends and do a smoke show. And my first e-brake stand I ever did, rip the e-brake, put it in first gear, rev it up, dump the clutch. Come to find out I'm in third gear, and I just sit there and smoke the clutch. And my shirt reeked of clutch for about 2 days. So
deservedly so.
I had to learn, that I don't know what the hell I'm doing yet.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I've seen some guys smoke his clutch before, trying to do a burnout, and you're just like, bro, your tires aren't turning. Got smoke now. It's not good, bro. Kill it. You should stop.
That's not the right smoke.
Shut it down.
That's not where you need to be right now. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's fun stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, cars are so much fun. They are. I used to burn through these Pirelli tires that I had on this old turbo Subaru back in the day. So I used to get hard on that, but or go hard on that. Maybe both. But the car talk is great, and I love all this. I love all this so much. But I also want to touch on some other substance here too, because you do a lot for the community. Like you give back to Denver and the community of the metropolitan area, and do a lot of amazing things. And I'm kind of curious, what kind of, because you're motivated to do that. Like, what were some of your motivational factors to get to that point of selflessness?
Well, man, I grew up on a farm, so. There's times where I slept on garage floors. I slept over friends' houses. I got kicked out of my house for doing, dumb shit. I realized back several years ago, I gave a buddy, I had this old, so you gotta understand, when I first started here, this is gonna surprise a lot of people. I came here with like a pickup truck, a suitcase, a few houseplants, and 2 cats. The cats weren't even mine, but I came here with nothing.
Yeah.
All right. I bought this little crazy house in the hood off Colfax and Tamarack. And all I could afford at the time, I could get qualified for a $70,000 loan. I literally came out here and was like, well, I'm just going to get out here and dig in and try. So I've never been afraid of working. Growing up on a farm, you learn really early. You're working an hour or two before you ever start getting ready for school, and a couple hours when you get home. So it's just work, It's in my papa on the other side of the family had this little country store. Everything was really cyclical. You had the garden in the back. Then he grew the produce that he sold in the store. Yeah. Up on the hill were pigs that people come in and order. They want a half or a quarter of the whole pig, and he would process that. It was just that's just the way I kind of grew up. So it was interesting. My whole life doing radio, I've never been paid a lot. You don't make a lot in radio until you cross certain thresholds. Now, fortunately, I've crossed a couple of them, not all the ones I wish I could have. Mm-hmm. But radio is different now than it will be 10 years from now. So, to me, one of the most interesting moments is I had the opportunity to get another car. I bought a utility little Chevy S10. that was at a utility auction from this electric company. And this little Chevy S10 was a 4-speed, had the small V8 in it, or no, the big V6 in it. And man, it had springs that were busting, hanging through the seat and the driver's side, because some big dude was probably driving it. And this thing was just hammered. I Amco'd the paint job. And I remember I used to take my dirt bike with me everywhere I went, so I could ride a little bit. And I had a Renthal sprocket chain sticker in the back. And at Amco, they didn't even peel the sticker, man. They painted right over the big Renthal, like sprocket, the big sticker. They just said, whoop, whoop.
Not my job.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, y'all didn't even remove the sticker? It's crazy.
Paint over it.
Yeah, you painted over it. But I gave that truck to a guy named Jay who had a kid, and his car blew up. He was walking back and forth, taking public transportation. So I had a chance to buy this newer truck. I did. And I could have sold that truck, and I was like, shit, I'll just give it to my buddy. So I gave it to him, and it immediately impacted his life, like 180 degrees. So at kind of that moment, I was like, man, wow, it's crazy how, because I had my old Charger at the time that was 4 different colors and duct tape all over the seats. I'd drive that around, or I had that little beater white, pickup truck. And I had a big, huge, massive Ram Charger that was on 40s that I used to go wheeling in all the time. So mobility, I could probably figure out a way to get around.
Yeah.
For him, it wasn't an option. I gave him that truck and watched his life just completely transform. So I said to myself, wow, if I could do that, if I could do that once a year and just help somebody out and really affect them in a positive and immediate way. Most times you go and you want to help somebody out, it's a very long, drawn-out process. And there's obviously ways you can immediately affect them. But for something that big, normally, to me, that's like, close to buying a home or finding a place to rent to call home, or getting great news about a doctor's visit. It's a big impact.
Transportation's huge. Like, back in the day when I was being an idiot, I got my cars repoed and stuff, and for the longest time, like, I didn't have wheels, and like going and doing the bus stuff, like, sure, like it's convenient and you can still get to where you need to go, but it just causes all this extra time, right? You have to wake up way earlier, and like just not having that ability to freely move about. Like after 2 years of that, I think it was around 2 years I didn't have a car.
Yeah, I remember that period for sure.
And it was tough, man. It was tough. And once I got wheels, like that changed the game.
Yeah.
It really does. It's important.
Yeah, it is. And that's what's cool about the WillieBFoundation.org, right? Is that where?
Yeah, WillieBFoundation.org. And that's literally from that moment, the next year, the second year I did it, I gave away 2 cars. Third year, I gave away 3 cars. Fourth year is it kept ascending like that. But about the 5th, 6th year, other people started helping me out. I got a car dealership kind of plugged into it. So like the 5th or 6th year, I gave away like 11 or 12 cars.
That's awesome.
7th year, I gave away like 20 cars.
Wow.
Before the pandemic, there were 2 years. I hooked up with the John Elway group, the Elway dealerships, right? And a guy named Todd, Todd stepped up to the plate. He had a lot of their used inventory being funneled down to me if it was under a certain price point. And, I was, at the time, it's much different now because, the car paradox that we're in right now is so weird.
It is weird.
Used cars that I was paying $50 or $100 for, this year I paid $3,000 for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's insane. But 2 years, those 2 years prior to the pandemic, I gave away 70 cars one year and 74 cars the year after that. And then the pandemic hit, and I gave away 30 cars. I gave away about 33 or 35 this year. Still got a couple more left. I hang over to some cars in case, they're cars typically with a lot of miles. Every one of the cars needs brakes, battery, tires. But there's 4 things: brakes, batteries, tires, and wipers. Those 4 things you guarantee on every car.
Guaranteed.
Right?
Maybe a windshield too.
Yes, most definitely here in Colorado for sure.
Maybe some hail damage.
Absolutely.
Hey, that's all right.
They all need additional things on top of that, but guaranteed the 4 things every car comes in: brakes, battery, windshield, tires. So it's just what happens, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Those are consumables that never get replaced when you're running low on funds. So anyway, I hold back a few cars that in case something happens, you know, that we didn't foresee, or, you know, it's another, you know, weird, you know, transfer case blew up a couple years ago on this Ford Expedition, and we did everything to it. All new suspension, brakes. We did interior on this one. We did all kinds of electrical work. We did transmission cover gasket. We did, or transmission gasket cover. We did pinion seals, all this crazy stuff. It had a axle seal and a rear end seal. I had to literally like take a Dremel and build up the boss in there so we could marry the seal to it a couple times. Like all this work, we give it to this lady. She's driving out of town, and the transfer case of all things blows up. So I have cases like that where it's just a random. We checked it, we put fluid in it, thought, oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
It worked, you know, when we tested it. But she's driving out of town, and boom, it blows up. So I had to have her another car. So that's why I keep a couple cars behind in case something unforeseen happens. So I can say, hey, it's okay. Come get this one and have a nice day. Yeah. But yeah, I buy these cars this year. You know, I'm at 33, plans to give away 35 of them. But man, nothing affects people. And then now, especially that it's caught on, people understand what it is and know about it. Some of the stories, they're just, you know, everything from people that have had to suffer through sex trafficking. I had a girl last year who her and her daughter were sex trafficked. Wow. You know, from South America. Like her story, she can't even like hardly talk about it. You know, I even kind of get a lump in my throat just thinking about it because, you know, she was so emotional. She didn't want to nominate herself. She's very, you know, she's held back on giving anybody anything about her life because every time that she has stuck her arms out, they've been, you know, bruised. So this woman, I just was attached to her story. It was like, you know, we got you. It's gonna get better for sure. Yeah. You know, and there's been stories of guys that walked, you know, what was the guy's name? I think it was he was a Hispanic guy, super cool, he's a machinist. But he shows up, man, he has these holes like he's got like duct tape wrapped around, you know, the ball of his foot, and he just wears holes in the duct tape because the hole in his shoe is so big. Because he walked like 3 miles to catch a bus. Wow. He would ride a bus, catch a light rail to catch another bus to walk another 2 miles. And this guy would show up to work every day. Yeah. Like every day he would show up, and every day he would rinse and repeat the same routine, would have to go back home. And he had like 4 kids he was fighting for, and he never could make enough money with the kids and their activities and what they had to do to get himself a car. And this man did this every single day, never missed a day of work because he was the only income coming in the house, and he did it for years. And I heard that story, I'm like, my God, man, how do you do that? So I got him a car, and he, like, literally I gave him a car on a Friday morning or a Saturday morning, and Sunday was their day to get ready to walk through the grocery store. They had to walk about 1.5 miles through the grocery store, 2 miles through a grocery store, opposite direction of the bus he caught to work. So he would walk that 2 miles with his kids, and he was bundling them up because it was snowing. Because at that time, I gave him away at Christmas time. And his little daughter was all mad, and he couldn't understand why. She's like, Daddy, I understand why we got to get all bundled up, do all this nonsense, walk the King Supers when we got a car now. And he was like, I got a car now. Oh, he totally spaced it, you know.
Game changing, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a big impact. I really enjoy doing it. And it's morphed into so much more than just me. I got a group of guys that help, and you know, some shops, and you know, I got companies that will sometimes donate to it. So yeah, it's become, you know, ironically, it's become a blessing and a curse because, in a way, I have kids now. So the only way it's sustainable is if, you know, like this weekend, I had to go pick up, you know, a bunch of cars this weekend. So I had to buy a big car hauler, you know, and a dually. So I do all that myself. You know, this weekend, my whole Sunday was dedicated to picking up, you know, donated vehicles. But, you know, some of them don't run. Some of them don't have an engine that we can save. Some of them need a transmission. Some of them just need a little TLC. But it's still left up to me to go do a lot of that work.
A lot of leg work.
Yeah. You know, but it is what it is. It's a big passion of mine. My wife doesn't get too upset with me. So it'll carry on, and hopefully I can find somebody to help me sustain it even when I can't.
Yeah.
know?
And so when folks, say, hey, I could use the help, I need a car, and they go to your website or they get in touch on the air or whatever, what does that process usually look like? Do they just kind of write in and tell you your story? Do you visit with them in person?
There's a couple things. There's on WillieBFoundation.org, there's a donation page where you can donate a car if you want, and there's a nomination page, thing you click on. So if you nominate somebody, it just says, hey, just tell me your story, what it is you need in a car, why you're in need of a car, and let's see what we can do for you. And basically, I take the stories from there and do a little vetting on them. If I do several cuts through the pile, because I'll get a few thousand nominations of people. Some people nominate themselves, which is fine. But literally, I'll start weaving through the pile, and a lot of guys that help me repair the cars, they'll help me weed through it up to a certain amount. It will take, this year is something like, 2,460, 70, somewhere. Almost just under 2,500.
That's a decent amount. Like,
yeah.
That's not easy to get through all that info.
No, it was miserable. Because this year we did it so much later than what we normally do because of the house fire. Because it's my shop and stuff we work at. So I have a big shop behind my house. And I have 2 bays with lifts in them. We take those over. Traditionally, it's, about mid-August all the way through December to get all the cars done and right and then ship them out. But this year it was later because I didn't get back to my house. We couldn't work on the cars. So this year I've been doing cars for Christmas here in June and July. But yeah, it's a big vetting process. We'll filter through them several times, trying to whittle it down to the number of cars. We ask them for their social media. So we say, if all they talk about in their letters, their kids, and you go to their social media and there's no kids and, they're a totally different person, it's something you consider, right?
You got to screen through some of the fraudulence, right?
Yeah, because you're going to get that. I've been bitten once or twice.
Sure.
It happens.
Of course.
But, you hate those. But at the time, there's so many stories that come in that, are just, man, they humble you.
Yeah.
They humble you hard. And I'm very thankful every time I read one of those to, just with what I've been given and trying to do the best I can with what my platform would be. I think this is a great way to help people and just make an instant impact, major impact in their life. So I think it was Pablo Picasso that said, the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the passion of life is to give it away, or something along those lines. So it's like that. If I can round up a bunch of cars, if I could have a means to buy them that doesn't hurt, me and my family too much, and if I could, find some guys or shops that help me fix them and love it as much as I do, then we'll definitely keep carrying that, that sword through.
Absolutely, man. No,
Well,
I love it. I love what you do.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great.
I mean, it's important, right? Because you have the means, and like what you were sharing as far as people's stories and what everyone goes through on this planet. Like, life is not an easy journey, and we're always going to be challenged along the way and along the road. But being able to give back like that is important in so many other levels. But, for all the listeners and stuff, it's, this is a lesson that is kind of to be learned that I was thinking about while you're talking. And that's like, we talk about how it's really easy to complain. Like, that's one of the easiest things people can do in this life is just complain about stuff. But even on, like, my very worst day, my worst day ever, like cars repoed, withdrawing off pills, all this, whatever it is, like, that is nothing compared to what other people are going through. Mm-hmm. And so it's important because everyone is going to inherently, like, have a bad day and, like, want to bitch about it. But it's good to take a step back and, like, really consider your own circumstances and, like, what we have actually in front of us and the value of that,
Yeah, man, I prayed for stuff I have now. It's crazy. It's true. I used to dream about I want to do radio and dream about doing, cars or having, a lot of the cars I have now. So, yeah, it's been a major blessing and something I've felt really motivated to do and I've always done. It's just to me, I'm like, it's funny. One year when I was giving away those 70 cars a few years ago, before I got married and had kids, the 1 year before that, I said I'm gonna give all my TV money and try to give away 100 cars. So that's when I could buy cars for $50, $100, and I probably bought 100 of them, or between all of them, communally, I got enough donated. I bought enough, found enough to have 100 cars to give away. I couldn't get them fixed in time to do so. But yeah, man, I took all my TV money. I was just like, all this is going to cars for Christmas this year, just to see if I crack that 100 number. Because, it's pretty cool. What's really cool, what me and the guys get a big kick out of is when it's time to give them away, I got this group of truck guys that come out or car haulers, like that hold 10 to 12 cars. And they're all the way down the street, It looks like the Manheim auction, It's like there's, 10 semis loaded down with cars, and it's just, it's a rolling parking lot I'm giving away. And it's, they're all for free. Yeah. These people don't pay a dime on them, So just to sit back and see that and go, holy shit, there's a whole street full of fucking car haulers and free cars, man.
Convoy.
That's cool, yeah.
Convoy, yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
It's a really cool moment, and it's just cool to watch the cars get received by the families. And a couple years ago, I had this kid come in, and this kid, was this last year? Yeah, this was last year. This kid, so imagine a family of 7 or 8, right? They had 7 or 8 kids, 2 adults. Big, crazy, big family. So this family would take their kids in trips, right? And this one older kid was the kid that always got left because they had 2 cars. The dad had a Saturn, and the grandparents that lived with him had some old, beat up Impala or something like that, right? Both these cars are pieces of shit. But they could haul all the people except for one kid, the oldest kid. They would always have to come back and get him.
Yeah.
They left this kid at Walmart. The kid they would get all the stuff, and he would sit at Walmart and wait on his parents. And this kid, he 8, Yeah. So it's kind of a crazy story, but the kid was comfortable doing it. So I said, they had all their kids in the studio, and she was in there. And I told this kid, I'm like, you ever been car shopping? And he's like, no. And I said, I usually carried him in a big, gallon Ziploc freezer. And I had all these keys, and I'd throw him his big bag of keys. And he's like, ugh. And I'm like, we're going car shopping. So I let this kid pick out, he went right for the minivans. I had all the cars laid out in the back parking lot.
He's smart. He was smart.
Right for the minivans. Yeah, and he hops in there, and he's like, this is the one I want, and this is my seat. He claimed the seat. I was like, it's yours. Parents never leaving you again. But yeah, man, it's stuff like that really, when you replay some of the reasons or the people we selected, it really does have a massive impact, and it's really cool what it does for them and for the guys and everybody kind of involved.
Sure.
So it's cool. I hope to always continue to do it, and it's just a really cool, we're all stories at the end of it. How's your story going to be told? And I hope, at the end of mine, people are like, fucker talk a lot, and he sure liked cars, and he sure gave a bunch of them away.
It's a great story to tell. It's a selfless act, and it speaks volume to your character. I have a lot of respect for that, and that's that's something that I think a lot of people can kind of piggyback off of. And Art and I are starting to experience that a little bit here with the reach that we have with this show, and some of our listeners that write into us. I think that's when it really hit me that we're onto something here. When we get people writing in saying, you guys actually impacted my day, negatively or positively, right? Because any energy is good energy. It's just amazing to give back selflessly, and the stories that we've shared. And like you said, we talk a lot. We say a lot of bullshit. We've told a lot of stories. We're real on here. We drink beer. We have some fun. And there's just something that's really rewarding when people can relate to it and you can actually change someone's life. So multiple ways to do it, right? Whether you're giving cars back to the community, whether you just give somebody some time to listen to them, it goes a long way. And that's kind of lessons I'm learning as the wheels keep turning here.
Oh yeah, no, we're just the vessels. Discussion combustion is bigger than Kevin and I. What it's capable of doing, and we got a worldwide reach.
Worldwide reach.
Yeah, worldwide. And but we're humbled by that. And we can only be thankful for that, right? Because because it's not like we deserved that. Like, sure, we showed up and worked. We showed up and did it every week, and we were consistent. But it's not like everyone's the same. Like, everyone is equal on this planet, and so it's good to get involved with something that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah, it's amazing how hard work and good luck run parallel. It's the stuff that you would consider good luck probably happened, largely in part due to hard work. So they run synonymous and parallel with one another, and it's crazy how they'll intersect and intertwine as long as you keep moving forward, and keep pushing.
Well, where focus goes, energy flows. That's a quote I heard somewhere. And just like, with you giving away cars, you're like, man, I want to try to give 100 away. You put that focus
Still
there, you made it
dream
happen.
yeah.
I mean, that focus, I think, is what I've learned is where the energy then flows, right? Whatever that is, negative or positive.
Right.
Because we're surrounded by that shit every day,
Yeah.
right? You're always going to run into some asshole that's pissed off, and I'm going to have to dial my road rage back because I get fired up,
Yeah, calm down, Kev.
Hey, it gets wild out there.
You, man. Got some funny road rage stories. Yeah.
I've tried to dial it back. It's a work in progress, Willie.
I'm with you there. Kids have dialed me back a little bit. I'm like, well, do I want to grab this guy and just smash his face in, or do I want to be like, well, I better get home to the kids, and so much better than being arrested.
Priorities.
Life
changes.
It's like, priorities.
How has the kid life changed for you as far as, being in the public light, doing your media stuff, you're constantly out and about, but then you still got to have that balance of being home for the kids?
Yeah. I'm fortunate my wife she's awesome. She decided, between her job and my job, as much as daycare would have cost us is about what she was making. So she decided to stay home with the kids, which was fine with me. So I'd say just, my big thing is time in the shop. I would go do station events and go shoot my TV show and do that type of stuff. Regardless, I still have to do a lot of that stuff and still do and enjoy it. But my time has shrunk significantly in the shop. I was building a wide body Charger that one car I took to SEMA, which was great, and I just slow up on it because my daughter was born. Normally for me, going out and tinkering on one of my cars, I got a lot of cars, so there's always something to tinker on. So for me, it was just therapeutic.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what do I want to work on tonight, or what am I going to do today? And I would just pick one of the cars and fix something that needed to be fixed or upgraded or just do something like that. And this is where I spent my time. Not a lot of time watching TV. I don't play video games. It's me and guys out in the shop building something either for the house or for the car or for one of my buddies' cars, or playing on what we're doing racing. I ride a lot of dirt bike too. I got a little motocross track in the backyard, so I like to get out there and just twist the throttle and let
Send
loose
it.
a little bit. Yeah. So for me, it's always been about just staying active and busy and keep my mind on that. And I think when you become sedentary, you're everything slows down. So
So true.
Yeah, and with kids, it's that same mechanism, right, in a different role, because you're always busy chasing a 3 and a 2-year-old, and now it's like, Dad, I want to swing. Dad, lift me up. Dad, I want to do this. My boy is fascinated with cars. Like, obviously, I know where he gets it, but his fascination was like from the first day he could open his eyes. He's like, and points at a car,
You're like, hell yeah.
And I'm like, what? And he's just, I don't even know where he gets half the stuff. He's crazy about cars. Anytime I fire up anything, right? And this was so crazy. Like I said, I've got 2 shops now at my house. I live out in the middle of nowhere. I have about 6 acres. So when I bought this house, it had this massive shop at the back of it. And the guy was really big into open wheel racing, and he used that as just a storage warehouse for several of his cars. He's multi-millionaire, homes on all kind of countries and continents and everything else. So it was interesting because he was like, I just stored my stuff here, getting rid of it. It's just a massive, huge shop. So I was like, I need to buy your place. I didn't even care about the house. I gave him a walkaway price. They took it. So I was like, I remember real estate agent was there in the driveway by the house garage, And I drove right past that real estate agent to the shop and parked my car there. And he's like, don't you want to see the house? And I'm like, hell no. I'm like, it's not even finished yet. I'm not even going to be in there. I'm going to be in here. Open this. So
that was the selling point.
Yeah. I was like, this is what I need to see.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away. I was like, I'm never going to be able to fill this shop. I filled that shop. And then I built another big-ass shop on top of the hill. Fill it up. Now I got cars all behind my shop. It's crazy. Some dude asked me the other day if I had a junkyard. And I was like, no, it's not a junkyard, man. It's project cars. Yeah.
He's like seeing 70 of these cars.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
A lot of cars, man. Google Maps makes my place look ugly. But, you know, I just always, if I had an opportunity to get a car at a decent price, I just always got it. So, I had excuse me. I had a really good friend.
Yeah. It happens.
Absolutely.
So I had this really good friend named Phil who ran Pull and Pay for a long time. So you know what a pull yard is, right?
Yeah.
So for the longest time, he ran this yard, and anytime he got anything Dodge, he would call me. Whether it was a pickup truck or a old New Yorker or a C-body that had some big 440 in it that was never abused because it belonged to a 70-year-old woman. He would call me. At one point, I had 26 big block Dodges in my shop.
26.
26 full-on 440 like builder engines. It's crazy. So
that's a lot of hardware.
That's a ton. Yeah, my parts room, I got big pallet racks that go probably 15 feet high. There's just stuff with parts. So I have a lot of, I still have probably, 10, 12 big block Mopars in there, but I have, several different pedigree in the parts room as well now.
Sure. Now, how big is the shop? How high up does it go?
So the shop is like 140 feet long.
Okay.
And like 55 or so feet deep.
Good size.
Yeah, it's I don't know, my showroom, it's divided in several rooms. Like what I call my showroom holds, it's carpeted. It's got a disco ball in it. I had a lot of bands play in there.
Flossy.
Yeah, it's nice, man. I have an old Hollywood, remember Hollywood video?
Oh, absolutely.
So I got a Hollywood video sign, but just the Hollywood part on a back wall that lights up, Thrown a lot of parties in that one.
It's like the ultimate man cave.
Oh, yeah. I've had a lot of good bands play in there. You wouldn't believe it. Texas Hippie Coalition, Five Finger. I've had all kinds of bands play in there. Anyway, that room holds 12, 13 cars.
Okay.
And then the parts room in the middle of the shop is closed off, just like regular, just an ordinary 36, 38-inch doorway. Right, you walk in. It's got tons of engines, body parts, panels, transmissions, that type, drive shafts, all that shit is in there. And it's the one that's got pallet racks full of, anything I can find. 68 Charger glass, doors, extra fenders. It's just shit it's hard to get your hands on. And then from that room, you walk out of that into, at the time, it was the final room in the building. I added on to it. But it was used as kind of like his paint room. And it's kind of funny. He had a big cabinet with 1/4-inch plate steel in the cabinet doors in the back. And as soon as I opened it, I was like, I looked at the guy, I was buying a place from him. You got to do a lot of shooting in here, huh? He's like, oh, man. He's that story. So when they had the NASCAR race or Pikes Peak Hill Climb, he was big into that. He's got pictures of Gail Yarborough's semi and all these vintage, old school racers. Their semis are sitting on the property where my house is right now, and they're back there shooting, just guns blazing, shooting in the cabinets, and just working on their cars and whatnot. So
sounds like a solid day.
Yeah, that sounds like fun, right? So between that and I added on another lift room in the inn that was just outdoor parking. It was a big concrete pad, and I got a lift for free. So I put it out there because it was so tall, and I just built a room around it eventually. So, that first room holds, 12, 13 cars. Parts room, you can't get a car in. The first lift room from there will hold a couple cars deep. And obviously one on a lift, and then the other room right beside it, same thing. And then the barn up top when you first come into my driveway. I think I've got 14 cars parked in there right now.
Just going on.
Yeah, just stuffed in there with some old dirt bikes and, stupid stuff I find at estate sales.
And I mean, you need all of it because, look, you got to accumulate all this stuff. I grew up doing construction. Like my dad owned his own remodeling company, and so I grew up around that, and he would always have like a ton of extra shit
around.
You had to. Yeah, because, once you need that part, like, why did I just throw that away? Like, now I need it sort of thing.
Times.
And so it's funny how you accumulate all this shit because you're like, well, one day I'll need this, right?
Yeah.
And then one day you actually do, and you're like, oh, I have that.
Well, yeah, because if you get rid of it, you're going to go, fuck, I should have got rid of that. I need that shit now.
Dude, I used to mow down. So, Pulling State used to get a lot of old Mopars. So, I'd steal all the pulley setups. I'd steal alternators. Not steal it, but I'd be like, yo, I'm going to get these parts, Phil. He'd be like, all right, I'll see you later. Right? And I'd take all the pulleys, that the double pulleys or triple pulleys that are hard to find to get everything lined up now. I don't know how many sets of pulleys I've saved people's ass on, or alternators or weird starters or, certain Mopar brackets or parts or pieces that they needed. Yo, I need a vent window, man. Oh, come on through. I got like 3 of them. You could have one of them. What?
I've been looking for one of these for weeks.
You're like, I got one. I got one out in the barn out there. It's in the supply room.
I probably will have it.
That's good. No, that's good. So everyone's hitting up Willie like, hey, you got this? You got this pulley for me? I need it.
Yeah. I get hit up a bunch for that, just all the time for a lot of Mopar stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. A lot more of the Mopar stuff probably than some of the other more common LS stuff like today. But
sure.
Yeah, man, for the old Mopar stuff, I go deep.
You're ready to rip in on the Hemis. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
Well, one thing I really liked that you were talking about maybe 5-7 minutes ago was that you don't spend much time watching TV. You don't play video games. Like you like to stay productive, get your hands on, and I kind of want to reiterate that a little bit because I feel like that has been such a crucial part of my own personal success is like staying productive and moving and staying moving. Like how you said, you get a little idled and that creates more idle time.
Yeah.
And it's just so important. Like, hey, there's nothing wrong with like watching some Netflix here and there or like, getting a couple, like I like to game, but I'll do that like maybe once or twice a month for like 3 hours that time. But it's not like a constant thing for me. What really helps is, having this production studio coming in here and working. We work the day job too, so I'm productive there. And then when I get off work, I stay productive. And then from there, like when I get home, like maybe I'll, clean up the dishes or just do something hands-on. Because the more time that we spend idle in front of a screen and like absorbing that information, like there's so many studies that creates like depression and all this other stuff, just not actually moving around. Like humans were nomadic way back in the day, right? Like we had to travel for food, and like we're meant to walk and move. And then so you get us sitting in front of a computer screen all day working. Like I go a little crazy, like sitting in front of a computer screen all day. Like by the end of the day, I have so much pent up energy. Like I have to do something hands on.
Get outdoors.
It's just so important. It's important to do stuff like that.
I agree, and I'm sure you do too, Willie. I mean, you get off the air, you're ready to get outside. Send the horsepower down the road, something like that. It's looking at screens all day can be very. I don't know, man. It doesn't make me feel good.
No, it's hard. I always tell people that the dream is free, but the hustle sold separately. So it's true. It's one of those things where you got to put it in time, and there's one thing. There's another saying. What's the difference between a dream and a plan? Action. Right. So if you take the action to do this, right, or to come down here and blah blah blah. Your dream is a plan, right? You're taking the steps necessary to make it unfold, and for those dreams, to become a reality. Whereas a lot of people just dream, but they never take that first, second, or third step. Or the second they hit a hurdle, right? They're like, well, fuck it, everything's trash.
Yeah,
and blah blah blah.
I quit. Yeah.
And man, you can't. There's definitely strength in the struggle.
Oh, and success is found through that. Like, and I'm a firm believer of this at this point. It's like when you feel like quitting, when you feel like everything's at its lowest point and you just want to throw in the towel, like that is your sign that it's really time to fucking push. Like that is the moment where you push harder than you've been pushing the entire time, is right when you feel like you can't anymore. That's the time, because right beyond that is like this glorious feeling of overcoming like something daunting and major, and to overcome is such a powerful feeling. So this is a good segue. We do like to ask all of our guests that come onto the show if you could offer one piece of advice for humanity so everybody can be better tomorrow, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. There's so many. Probably get out of your comfort zone, you know? Nothing great is ever built in a comfort zone, you know? And you could apply that to anything. Cars, you know? Like, with me, I didn't know how to, you know, TIG weld. And so I was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to go buy this first-gen Charger for $3,000. I drug it home. I pressure washed it. And that, dude, this was a low production number, like 300 and something. Anyways, a 4-speed, big block, 6.6 Charger. I brought it in the garage after I pressure washed it, and I cut the rear quarters off of it right then and there. And I was like, okay, well, I grabbed the old Miller Sinker Wave and start doing this, right? And just figured it out. Now I warped some panels. I fucking had to redo a couple things for sure.
Of course.
But, like, if you're willing to step out of your comfort zone, then chances are you're pushing yourself. And whenever you push yourself, right, and you don't give up on that, you'll find that typically great things occur and great things happen because you stepped out of what was, you know, normally a comfortable area for you, and you made something great happen.
Yeah.
Solid advice.
I love that.
Getting out of the comfort zone. We talk about the 5-second rule on the show a lot, which is, you know, the mind will have 5 seconds to talk you out of an idea, whether that's go approach this woman. Maybe I want to go buy this car, whatever it is. The mind in 5 seconds is going to try and talk you out of it. Just do it, right?
Yeah.
Act on it.
Oh, I'm 1, 2, 3-er. Like I've raced motocross. I raced motocross to a professional level. Won a couple state championships here. I love motocross, but when I was first getting started, same way when I raced in the Motorcycle Road Racing Association, it wasn't as needed as it is in motocross. But there's certain things you're doing in motocross where you got to tell yourself, fuck, I gotta throttle down. I got a big fucking 80-foot gap here. So either you're gonna do this or you're gonna wad up, right? Or you're gonna lose, you know. So I'm always 1, 2, 3.
Mash it.
I apply that to jumping off cliffs, and I've got 76 skydives. The first 2 or 3 of them was 1, 2, 3. you know,
just hopping out.
It's so true.
Yeah,
life is lived within 3 to 5 seconds, like for sure.
Yeah.
Like it is, because like
gotta jump.
You have to get out of your comfort zone. I couldn't. We preach that a lot on here because we've lost girlfriends over doing this project, and
Correct.
like that gets us out of our comfort zone. Like that's where life is. Like you can't be complacent and also feel alive at the same time. Like it doesn't work.
Right.
So I feel like that's great advice.
It is, because the mind's always going to go to that comfortable place. What do I know?
Right.
What am I comfortable with? Like you said, you went out there like, I don't know how to do it, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to send it, kind of like what we did here. We started buying all this shit. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We sent it, right? And then the results started to come. So I think it's good. I think it's good to get out of the comfort zone. It's especially coming out of the pandemic too. Things are open again. People can get outdoors. People can socialize again. It's been a hell of a 2 years. It's been a wild ride, but it's good to see. Bandimers going to be packed this weekend. It's good to see people out having fun again.
Yeah.
No
doubt.
Yeah, we'll come say what's up to you.
Yeah, I'll be up there.
Because you're going to be up there. You'll be there
We'll
Saturday?
give you a quick call.
Yeah, I'll be up there Saturday. I'm doing a thing with Ron Capps on Friday. I'm eating chicken wings with him.
With Ron Capps?
He does the thing, Winging It with Ron.
Okay, all right.
On his social media stuff.
Yeah.
So
He's a
I've
legend.
had him on my show a few times. So I'm doing that Friday. I'm doing that with Ron Capps. And then Saturday we're doing a broadcast. Hanging out with Matt for a minute on Saturday too. And then probably there a little time on Sunday just watching the first
finals.
few rounds of eliminations.
Yeah, I like being there Saturday because you get both nitro qualifying sessions. You get to see what's going on, rub some shoulders with these guys, some of the legends of the sport. Bandimere is probably one of the greatest tracks in the country. You know, I grew
awesome.
up at New England Dragway, Epping, New Hampshire, which is a fantastic place too. But I love Bandimere. I'm excited to be here this weekend. But before we let you go, Willie, we did have a listener question come in. I wanted to specifically ask you how you feel about Colorado Mammoth taking the championship this year.
Dude, I'm so happy. Yeah, man, that was great. I was glad to see him in the parade. It was awesome. I so thoroughly enjoyed doing the Mammoth games and just being a part of it. And you know, it was much different back then because me and the guys and the team, we were really tight, really good friends. I had them on my show all the time. It was just a really cool experience for me. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And it wasn't my decision to leave. It was, you know, Steve Govett's decision to kind of part ways with me because I kept asking about a T-shirt. That's a different side story. But it's to me, it was one of those things that I'll never forget. I absolutely loved it. I still get excited for the Mammoth.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was great they won the championship this year.
Yeah, it was exciting. I mean, I think they took it in Buffalo or.
Yeah. Same way we did it last time we won it. I was there, man. I charged the field. I was in the freaking locker room spraying champagne. It was like it was obviously much different back then than it is now, but because that job is just different. But back then, I was a very intricate part of the team, and hell, I've fought opposing players before. You know, it was one of those things where I'm like, fuck you just sucker punch my boy, man. It was one of those things like that. So I'm sorry for cussing up.
Oh no, we're good. We're 18 plus.
All right, I'm like,
yeah.
But yeah, it really was, man. I used to throttle with those guys hard, so it was really cool to watch them dip into that championship again and bring home their version of the championship cup and just ring that thing out in the rafters again and be like, yeah, world champions, we did it again. It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, really a really good month for Colorado because then the Avs took home the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
too,
man.
So.
And DU won.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
Denver sports are ripping right now.
Yeah, it was dope.
Look, if you're from Colorado, there is a successful wave happening right now that you can ride just off of our sports teams.
Well, and there's a lot of bandwagoners.
So focus on that.
Right?
A lot of bandwagoners. I'm originally from New England, so New England sports are still pretty deep for me. Patriots guy. There's been a lot of grief and gripe about that on this program. A lot of people like to give me shit. I did not jump to Tampa Bay. Mac Jones is my guy. Let's go New England.
Oh wow. I definitely jumped on Tampa Bay.
I mean, look.
I like Tom Brady. I like his work ethic.
Tom Brady's the man.
Yeah.
He is the GOAT, Willie. There's no. I don't think
can't argue that.
He could go for number 8 this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very possible. And I think it's a lot like Jeff Gordon. I like to compare Tom to Jeff because people didn't like Jeff Gordon in the 90s when he came out and started winning championships, winning all these races. They're like, fuck this guy. We're Dale Earnhardt. This is Dale Earnhardt country.
Right on.
And people felt the same way about Tom Brady. Like, man, this guy's a cheater. He's a hack. He's this, that, and the other. And now Tom's finally starting to get that praise and that respect that the man deserves.
Yeah.
Late in his career. I mean, what is he? He's going to be 45, I think, in August.
Yeah, man.
And he's going to go out there and
Still
sling
killing
them. So I'm ready, though. I'm excited for Denver, too. You guys got Russell Wilson. This is going to be a good year for the Broncos, I think.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
It's going to be fantastic. Well, Willie, I mean, what an honor having you in. But more importantly, keep up the good work for society, right? You're filling people's mornings with your voice and it's a great energy. And people need to have, a strong energy within their days because we talk about all the time, life pulls us down in a lot of different ways and there's a lot of negative things happening right now, and you are in a position where you're helping people by entertaining them, by physically giving them wheels and just staying busy and productive. And both of us are so happy that you were able to make some time and come in today and chat on the Discussion Combustion, man.
I appreciate the invite.
What an honor.
And, really cool you guys to invite me down, and glad sharing some moments, memories, and times with you.
Yeah, and a cold beer, of course. We always like to finish it off. So we'll cheers to that, guys.
Cheers.
Willie B, thanks so much for being here, man. It's a really fun time. Anyone listening that's in the Denver area, come out, say what's up this weekend. We're going to be hanging out at Bandimere, having a good time. Good old American NHRA drag racing. I'm pumped up.
To that,
Can't wait for it. Willie, we'll get you back on again.
Can I give you my Instagram handle?
Everything.
If you guys want to check it out, Willie_KBPI or Willie B on Facebook. You always can follow me there and see some really cool cars and kiddo action. But on Instagram, it's mainly the car stuff. And then on Facebook, it's just life. motorcycles, cars, and all the above. So right on, man. Thanks again, fellas. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again. And we'll include all that in the show notes, too, down below so the folks can just scroll down, get in touch with Willie B. One of my favorite DJs, one of my favorite guys to listen to for a long time.
Right on,
super cool to have a beer with you. Thanks for being on my show, man. It means a lot.
Man.
And so, y'all know, be good to yourselves. You deserve it.